What do Mario, Rafa Nadal, the British Armed Forces and Rory McIlroy have in common? That's right, they all made my second girlfriend's list of 5 celebrities we could sleep with outside the relationship. But there's only 4, I hear you say? Well, I made her count the British Armed Forces as at least 2. I still wonder what happened to her after she drove through the fence at Fort Blockhouse at 2 AM, naked and screaming about wanting a private game of Mario Golf with the highest ranking corporal. I guess we'll never know. Said gaming, golfing and gun-toting icons have been part of some pretty suspect watch collaborations too. But while some of these collabs were pretty egregious, the nadir of these tie-ins was surely Timex's attempt to cash in on the popularity of their Timex Q range and offer a Pac-Man Indiglo digital watch. People are still optimistically trying to flog these for over £100 on eBay. Pac-Man the game first hit arcades in May 1980, 11 years before the mistake of my conception had even happened. But 15 years prior to that hungry little bastard seeing the light of day, I'm talking about Pac-Man, not me, Nivada Grenchen had made this. The Depthmaster isn't just how people ironically referred to my penis during university, but it's also where the inspiration behind that phasmophobic, pixelated punk that we call Pac-Man might have stemmed from. Such is the striking resemblance of these Arabics to that mischievous maze muncher. Before we go any further, let me just thank all of you for subscribing, commenting, liking, and of course watching the videos, particularly the last one. I said I'd announce the winner of the San Martin Black Bay Homage, and here it is. Paul Clayton, please drop me an email and I'll get that watch shipped over to you ASAP. At the risk of this sounding like an Oscars speech for winning Best Supporting Arsehole, I'd like to thank you all for such kind comments. If you haven't won the watch, well, guess what? At least you haven't fucking lost one. Anyway, thank you all, and don't worry, I'll be doing more giveaways in the future, I'm sure. Also a special shout out here to Sam for lending in this watch. It really does mean a lot that anyone would trust me after what I did to the mattress of Lieutenant Keenan with my second girlfriend all those years ago. Anyway, back to the watch. Nivada's own website points Pac-Man out as a nickname for this watch, aligning it with other watches that have nicknames plucked from popular culture, such as Batman, Hulk, and, well, The Thing. I'm going to flash the specs up on screen here, but this is a pretty straightforward offering. 39mm case size, 47mm lug to lug, 13.1mm in height, and 20mm lugs. These are pretty much the only specs that other manufacturers should aim for when making something such as this 1960s inspired dive watch. And while it might look like Pac-Man on the dial, the case is positively Panerai. Fortunately for those of you, like me, with the withered wrists of a reanimated corpse, this doesn't have the same Panerai heft. And if you get confused by how the concept of Love Island works, fear not. Here, as in there, simplicity is the name of the game. This 100-meter water-resistant chunky hunk of steel is time only, and the caseback is so dull that the Conservatives are thinking about making it a secretary for tedium. All that's here is a spec sheet and some radial brushing that does make it look a bit like an afterthought. Ticking away inside is an old favourite, at least for me. The SW200 power in the Depthmaster is running excellently in this case, and this actually doesn't have a date position, so no ghosts for this Pac-Man to worry about. The star of the show here though is clearly the dial. The numerals are like some Dadaist exhibition at the MoMA more than they are credible ways to tell the time. And the splash of red alongside these angular numerical anomalies is giving me big worker and parasite vibes.
What the hell is that?
The handset is also like a Soviet take on Rolex's Mercedes hands, stripped of some of the inner polished surfaces of those in favour of bold, simple shapes that make legibility a non-issue completely. And I love the little Swiss denomination at 6 o'clock too. And I'd love more vintage inspired pieces to adapt this minimalist style as opposed to putting Swiss made there. Notice the distortion of the beautifully domed sapphire crystal. Half the time I wasn't checking the hour with this, I was just glancing down at it from an angle to see how that dial played with the refractions and the light. Speaking of which, it glows nicely in the dark with that C3 superluminova printed on the dial. However, sadly it doesn't last as long as I'd like. If I had £1 for every time I'd heard that. Still, it's acceptable for the price and the style, which is what I always say. That's one of my only real negatives here. You see, I've kept the price under wraps until now, as I think it's this watch's biggest downfall. At 920 Swiss francs on the leather, as Sam has it here, or 1135 Swiss francs on Nivada's Beads of Rice bracelet, that's roughly $990 or £730. On the bracelet, you're looking at $1,220 or £900. I personally don't like this one on the leather and much prefer it on the tropic style strap from Watch Gecko that I've had it on. That's the first compromise here. The second is the bezel action, which is, well, take a listen. It's not bad per se, but I've handled much better for less, such as the C60 by Christopher Ward, which can be snapped up very reasonably on the second-hand market, and likewise the C65 if you're after that vintage aesthetic. The automatic helium escape valve isn't so much a compromise, but I think it could have been sacrificed to save a few quid, given that it's not likely you'll be taking this diving anyway. All in all though, this is a solid offering, and it's probably the watch that Don Draper would have taken diving. It says a lot without saying much at all. Its simplicity makes it versatile, and those numerals give it an edge that make these 80s inspired licensed OTT tie-ins look somewhat paradoxically, well, dull. Another big thanks to Sam for lending this in, and thank you all for watching, liking, commenting and subscribing, and please do so if you haven't already. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments. And yeah, I know I take a while to respond, but I do read each and every one, and I appreciate any and all input, even if it's just to tell me to stop making my watch videos political. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.